Hi, I'm attorney Vincent Davis, and I've been fighting CPS for over 35 years. Through my years of experience, I've gained invaluable insights that I'm ready to share with you. If you're a parent or a caregiver or a relative, we need to talk. I'm offering a new opportunity for you to speak with me on a one-on-one basis. Ask me any questions, and I'll provide you with the insight you need to take steps in your CPS case. Members get everything they need to gain confidence and the knowledge that they need to support necessary to truly fight back. And as a special thank you for attending, I have a special offer just for you. Don't miss out, join us, and let's take that next step together. I'll see you at the question and answer event.
Um, Good morning and welcome to the live podcast. This is How to Fight CPS with Bob Pace. You just heard from my attorney, Vincent W. Davis, who's talking about a very important meeting on this Saturday. It's a podcast meeting where he's going to give you insights of how to um, fight CPS. It's 1 hour on Saturday at 10 o'clock. It'll replete again the ad at the end of my podcast. But I want to thank all of you that have found me. You found me on Facebook, and um, I warmly welcome you because you're fighting an agency that I've been fighting for 15 years, and it's a bad agency, and it has gone bad. It's no longer what it was founded to be or to be. When you hear the word CPS from me, I talk about the Child Protection System. It's an area of social services um, that is supposed to protect. It's been mandated by Congress that this social services branch is supposed to protect the children from neglect and abuse. Further, it's supposed to help out parents in need of food, clothing, shelter, transportation, education, medical, and to find a job. They need a job. And lastly, if they need to break up the family because the children are in intimate danger and the family is pulled apart, they're supposed to do family reunification because it's been founded that the best parents are the biological parents. The best parents are the biological parents. And I really um, hope in your case that if they destroyed your family or taken apart, that they still do family reunification because lately a lot of them are just going straight on adoption, straight on adoptions. Um, I don't know if there's lag here, but it looks like I'm not moving very well. Um, I am connected. Let me double check here, but um, well, Uh, yeah, I guess the lag. There's a little bit of lag here. I don't know what happened, but hopefully you hear me okay. I'm broadcasting this from Southern California. I'm in Surf City, USA, about a mile up from the beach, outdoors. So you hear some background sounds, and it's an overcast, foggy, cold day. It's about 61 degrees. It's cold for us because we're used to 80 degrees year round. And one thing nice living down at the beach, you get that ocean wind blowing across the ice tray, which is the Pacific Ocean. The ocean is never very warm. It's not like the East Coast where it warms up or the Gulf Coast where it's extremely warm this year. But it's fairly cold, and when the winds blow, it blows the air across the ocean, and in turn, it's like putting a fan in front of an ice tray and blowing across the ice tray towards you with the fan, and you'll know a cooling effect. But as I said, this agency, is supposed to protect our children and to give us aid, but also this family reunification they forget about because the studies have proven the best families are the biological families. Now, for you that have heard me for the first time or heard me 100 times or whatever, because I've been doing this for over a year, twice a day, uh, 7 days a week, and 14 shows a week. I come on at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time for 1 hour, and then again at nighttime at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I do that on a regular basis. There is some exceptions. Today, this afternoon, I'll be on early at 4 o'clock so I can attend the high school football game my son and I will attend, and that's at 7 o'clock, so I need to do my show earlier. This is Friday Night Lights. It's high school these months of September, October, November, and into December. But I enjoy that with my son. I enjoy family. I'm a family man. I love my family, and I know what you guys are going through when your family's disrupted. So was I. I too had a CPS case, a really bad one. Lost a home, lost my daughter, lost a lot of things because of that. Lost a lot of things because of that. So I do know what you're going through, and I know how hard it is. All I do is I think about it and I tell my story too. But this child protection system, CPS, is I see in my case and many of the other review, there's been over 500 people I've talked to, have said that this case is or CPS is a bad entity. I tell people if you want to think of CPS, think of the story of Alice in Wonderland. Alice has gone into her garden and she's fallen in a rabbit hole, and she meets the Chester cat. And it's all fictitious and stuff, but it's also a confusing time for Alice because she goes from room to room. One room says off with her head. Well, the Child Protection Agency is just like Alice in Wonderland. There's no one monitoring the agency. They're not accountable to anybody. There's no board of directors or supervisors. There really is no watchdog. They get the money from the federal government and it goes to the state, and then from the state it goes down to the counties. And I'm talking a lot of money to the tune of $1 trillion business a year. They make $1 trillion off our children, off our families. It does not take $1 trillion to raise children. Um, they do it because they give their employees incentives and bonuses. I know this firsthand from listening to my social worker talk about how she was all excited about a Gucci purse, her eyelashes, her eye makeup, her accessories, her clothing, her BMW. Every week after week, that's all she talked about. And they were getting incentives for building up the number of people in custody. Um, that is wrong. You shouldn't be in a business where your main goal is money and not helping, because this is the business that you need to help people. Right now, this current administration has opened our borders. The previous administration had closed the borders, was trying to regulate the flow of people like it's always been. I mean, we started off early on discovering North America. The first people to discover it were the Native American Indians, the First Nation people, the people that came from Asia and crossed the land bridge in Siberia to Alaska and settled in Alaska and Canada, the United States, down to Mexico, to Central America, to South America. And then they branched out to the Polynesian world in the South Pacific. These were our first immigrants, the Native Americans. We're all Native Americans once we're born here. So these First Nation people, the first immigrant people here, were proud people with their own ways and different ways of doing things. And one of the most important things it seemed to be is they made use of anything that they killed or cut down or what. They were always very useful with what they had on hand. And our society is a throwaway society. We really don't try to make use of things or try to reuse things or recycle. And we ruin our forests and cut them down and stuff. But CPS has been going on since the 1600s, the Child Protection Agency. They divide themselves into three parts from 1600 to 1875, from 1875 to 1962, and 1962 to the present. There was an important act passed in 1978 called the ICWA, Indian Child Welfare Indian Act. And that's supposed to protect our children, our Indian children, from being um, um, adopted instead of going back and reunify with their parents. For so long, from the 1870s, when they started rounding up the Native American Indians to put them on reservations, they took the children, the Indian, and they tried to remove their identity. So, anyway, as we travel down um, in this current, we are now trying to protect our cases, our children, and so forth from um, neglect and abuse. But now it's gotten out of hand. Now, there's four ways you can participate in this podcast. Um, the first way is just being in this room listening. The second way is to, if you wanted to talk, you want to do a text a message, either a comment or a question about CPS. That's the second way. The third way is if you want to be a host, be able to talk like I'm talking and be on the show as a host. And then the fourth way is to um, call in. I have a number. It's working now. My Vonage number is up and working, and I post it as soon as I finish with the introductions here. Now, all of you are maybe new, this may be old hat. I do try to do it different ways, different presentations, and It's involvement. This podcast is only good as you want to make it good. And thank you, um, Melanie, for the thumbs up. In this room, you can do emojis, and she did one, and that's great. I love thumbs up, smiley faces, hearts. Those are things that you can do in this podcast. I also have 5 rules that are so important with my case. Such as rule one is to get an attorney and the right kind of attorney. You heard Mr. Davis talk. He is that right kind of attorney. And I want to thank Mr. Davis for providing this podcast and doing what he's doing. And um, he is the right attorney because what you need a family juvenile dependency lawyer. Somebody who's been trained in juvenile family dependency law. That's the area that you're in. This is not criminal law, not divorce court. It's strictly dependency law that involves juveniles and families. All the children under the age of 18, and then of course the families that make up the parents that are taking care of the child. So I have that rule there, and I'll talk more about Mr. Davis. Um, the second rule is trying to keep track of everything. When I had my case, I had everything all over the place. I had it on envelopes and so forth. And you need to organize yourself a notebook and organize all kinds of things. The most important thing in that notebook should be your incident file. It's a timeline of what events took place. I'll talk more about that. And then thirdly, there my third rule is that you don't talk to social workers, you don't talk to police, you don't let them in your home, and you don't answer the door. And I will tell you about the reasons why. Also, there's a thing called medical trafficking that takes place. Yes, CPS does all kinds of trafficking. They'll traffic your child into foster care, which is illegal, but they get away with it. They also do medical trafficking. That's where you bring your child to the urgent care or the emergency for a problem they have. Next thing you know, the child protection system is abducting your child based on premises that they overheard with the doctor. There's been some terrible, terrible cases of medical trafficking. Or if you're going to have a child and your child is taken from you at birth. Now, rule number 4 is about the researching on the internet, researching your CPS case. That's really important. And then rule number 5 is to have your important documents all together in one place. What you mean is the children's records, the social security cards, the birth certificates, those kinds of things. So I'll talk about those 5 rules in depth, and I'll talk about how they interact with this podcast in depth. But I really wanted to move past those things because I want to make sure all of you are welcome and all of you know how I can help you. At any time you want to type in a comment, please do so. Also, I'm going to put my phone number up so it's ready available for you to call in. And I'll talk more about that, but it's at 626-698-0990. Now I have another phone number on my screen, 888-888-6582. That's the law offices of Vincent Davis. And that's his office, Davis and Associates. And he has many attorneys. Some of you may want an attorney in divorce or real estate or workman's comp or injuries or something like that. He has those attorneys. What you do is you call that number, 888-888-6582, tell him that Bob Pace sent you and that you want to retain an attorney. You want to talk to an attorney. And there's ways you can talk to Mr. Davis, even for free. But that number is there for you to call in. And um, he wants to talk to you. He cares about you. He does podcasts. He does a lot of his free time with clients. And I want to welcome Paulette Hennessy. Um, Good afternoon. Paulette, I think you're from South Carolina. Am I correct? And you're going to call me on Friday because it's your day off with some questions. And I warmly welcome Paulette from South Carolina. Paulette has been on my show several times, and her husband's been hiding her kids. And the last thing I think she told me, he was hiding in Florida. But anyway, she really wants to see her kids, and right now the husband isn't honoring the custody arrangements. It's okay, Paulette, and I know you're not ready. You don't have on my show. Some people wait for weeks before they talk, but I want everybody to know that it's okay to take your time. Not everybody's able to talk about their case, and I know how hard it is. I wish I could wave a magic wand. I wish I could wave a magic wand. Another thing we talk about is topics. I have all these tabs open that I can talk about topics in Maine or in Oklahoma. I can talk about the ICWA Act. I can talk about, how to help out your kids and how to make complaints and file things and file forms and stuff. You'll do fine, Paulette. I hope that weekend is a very productive weekend for you. Um, you know, we all work hard during the week for jobs, and unfortunately, the child protection system is very corrupt, and it really affects us. It really affects us. It's made me a very difficult time trying to get work because, unfortunately, in 2010, I was unemployed through no fault of my own. And since that time, I've tried to get jobs, but one of the things I'm having is that they think dinosaurs are too old to work. Yes, I'm a dinosaur. I've been working for 60 years. You know, I've had family for 42 years. I've been married in the first marriage for 10 years. And the way that California structures, anyone can get out of a marriage so easy. So my marriage was ended. Not that I wanted to. My marriage was ended, and it was sad because we had a beautiful child, my firstborn daughter. And at age 3, she was taken from me. Still breaks my heart that now she's in her 30s, and I don't know how she's doing for anything else. But I've also been married for 32 years to my second wife, and we have 3 children together. And these young children were the ones that were trafficked by the CPS into foster care. It was bad. It was so bad that these child protection agency would try to take our children. I really saw a vindictiveness. I really saw a tragedies with human beings are supposed to be helping people, not tearing them down or using them. That was really, really sad. So anyway, I have all these topics that we can talk about. I also have something called the Course Digest. It's where there are topics about CPS. There's a question is asked, and then someone will try to answer it, and then I read their answers. Then you all can join in to see what answers are like. I really like an interactive podcast because I want your input. I want your feelings. I'm here to help you. Yes, I'm a family man, and totally, I have 6 children. I have one by my first wife, 3 by my second wife, and then her 2 children that I adopted. So our family's 6. So when we sit at our table, it's 8 people. That's my family. And I am married. And I do still take care of my family. It's been really hard with CPS. It's destroyed our family. We were on the top of the world in 2010, had a beautiful home by the beach, and I had to sell my home because I needed to get an attorney, and an attorney does take a lot of money. It takes a lot of money, and I got the best attorney, Mr. Davis, who we'll talk about several times in the show. I'm also open to any other ideas that you may have. We reach out worldwide. Not only do I reach out and talk to the United States, but there's 14 countries that I've talked to. And so CPS is a worldwide problem, and so I'm here to help. Okay, Paulette, that's a good suggestion. I like that question. Paulette has said, I'm going to put her question up on the screen. She says, talk about what to do when you find out the cases aren't legit in 2 different states now. Now, I assume one of the states is South Carolina. I don't know what the other state is, Paulette. You haven't told me the other state. But Paulette really wonders if she did have a CPS case. Now, that has come up before because all CPS cases are supposed to have a case number. When they're opened up in the county by the social worker, they need to contact the state and get a number. They need to show that your state is current because they get funding. That's where the money comes from, and they got to have a number. So the way to do that is to go to the state that you live in, the capital, and you want to look at the ombudsperson's office and verify your case. You can also talk to the civil rights coordinator in your state. They're both found in the capital area of your state. And you just ask them, you give them your name and say you want the case number. Because you're supposed to have a case number. That will tell you whether it's legit or not, Paulette. Yeah, Florida. Okay, yeah. And um, the thing is the county that opens the case is the one that has jurisdiction over where you're living. So if a complaint comes in, and by the way, there's 2 types of complaints. Ones that are made by lay people and ones that are made by professionals. Now, professionals are like your school teachers, your school administrators, the principals. It's the lawyers, excuse me, it's the firemen and the policemen and the doctors and nurses. Those are your professionals. And they go through a training where they learn to recognize child abuse and neglect and how to call it in and so forth. And most of the time, the cases are legit. They may be a misunderstanding, but professional people do not use alternative motives. Though the other day, I heard where a school teacher did, and that was sad. It's sad when people want to use the social services. Now, the second group of people I'm talking about are the people that I call laymen. They're your family, your friends, your relatives, your in-laws, um, you know, your sister, your mother, your dad, or whatever. They're the common people, and that's what the case is with Paulette and her husband. I guess they had a divorce, but they also had a custody arrangements with the children, and somehow he's orchestrated something different and filed different things and has different things going, and he's using CPS against the mother. And that's the sad part about lay people. In my case, my in laws were using CPS against us parents. My wife's mother, father, three sisters, and a brother were once a week calling the CPS. They're in Ohio, and um, they would call California and register a complaint. And the problem is that anytime that CPS gets a complaint, they have to believe it's for real and that you're guilty until you're proven innocent. It isn't like most courts or most criminal matters that you're innocent till you're proven guilty. But in CPS, it's the other way around. Now, Paulette further says, let's see what she says now. Paulette says he filed for divorce in Florida, but I wasn't even served papers. It states I was served in Washington, yet I've never been there. There's just too much to my cases. I see that, Paulette, and I believe there's too much to your cases. I believe there's too much to your cases. She has a very bad ex husband, and he's a layman, and he's using CPS to win the custody arrangements with children so he has complete control. And then Paulette has nothing, which is hard. It's sad. Not only that, she lost her relationship. She lost a marriage. You see, when you all get married out there, you're not given a book of how to do marriages. You're not even schooled in that. I always recommend that they go back to having life skills, and they should have it all 3 years of schooling, even in elementary. They had some form of life skills given to them. Like in high school, how do you open up a checking account or a savings account? Or how do you date? How do people, it's trial and error. And I know in religion they help out a little bit about dating, but dating can be scary. It can be really tough. When you're an adolescent, you're growing up, you're experimenting, not only with drugs, but with sex. And there's emotions you feel and stuff. And so it's really hard without a book. There's a thing called CPS. You don't know how they handle that. You grow up. So I think that all through elementary, in high school, and even in college, there should be a mandatory class that's always taken that talks about, you know, things that everyday life that would help you be a better person. People ask me, well, what's so important about going to college? I can get a regular degree not going to college. I can go out and not get a regular degree, but I can go out and get a job. Well, college is a school of life. There's more than you learn about academics or playing sports. You learn how to interact with people. You learn how to, work your emotions and so forth. And you have friends and people you meet. You develop these friends and these people. I agree, Paulette. There should be a class about narcissics, personality disorder. Well, all these disorders. Yeah, that could be true there. That's what Paulette says. And I'm not trying to get from CPS. I'm trying to keep this all related to CPS. But when you are married and your divorce goes bad, it's a shame that people can't face the fact that it's like anything else in life. You have a job, you lose your job, you move on. Yes, divorce is something that I did not like. I was really hurt by it. And but having children is hard too because you have to learn things like time out with your children, and when your children are teenagers, there's all kinds of things they suddenly talk back to you, and they do things that are wrong, but they do it. These are testing you and stuff like that. And I think it's important that you have a religion that you believe in. You have your faith in God. Everybody should believe in something. And You should try to make that part of your family. And I recommend that every family should eat together one meal a day. One meal a day. That usually is the dinner hour, but it depends on the work patterns of people. It's really hard right now because we have to work not only two or three or four jobs. You can have two people that are married to have four jobs each. That's eight jobs to try to put food on the table, to try to pay for gas. This current administration has really raised our gas prices up. That's doubled. Our food is ridiculous. You're paying $8 a gallon for milk, 75 cents, a pound for bananas. I've seen so many prices. It's like when you go try to eat a fast food, it's $10. It's almost like a regular restaurant. Restaurants, 20 bucks starting out. A meal is 20. Meat in the grocery store, $10 or $20 a pound. It's hard. And so Paulette must have, she says she has two older boys that are doing great in life. No drugs, no drinking, no babies, no trouble yet. I can't leave my last angel. And I know, Paulette, I know how you feel about your family. There isn't a day I go by that I think about my firstborn and how she's doing and what she's doing in life. And I've been developing a thing that I need to write your children long letters. As they get older, you need to write those letters. At a young age, nah, you don't have to worry about that. But at an older age, you do. You give them cards. You try to support them. You try to support them. I know, Paulette. I know how it feels. I mean, my first marriage was terrible. It still hurts me today. And the woman there has denied my access to my firstborn. And my second marriage was pretty much destroyed by the child protection system. They're so corrupt. They're trying to pit the parents against each other. They're trying to alienate the children and traffic the children. Traffic is against the law. Alienation is against the law. But the child protection system seems allowed to do it. They get away with it. They get away with it. And I'm sharing Paulette's story, putting her notes up posted. So that's good, Paulette. I'm glad you're in my room interacting. That is nice. Oh, that's so good. You're so appreciated, Paulette. You have a heart of gold. That's Paulette from South Carolina. And she sends, things to her boys. I know what it is. As a parent, it's hard to go through life. And so there's no answer, no book or anything. It's not like you have a book of rules. And then she says he left the family 3 years ago, was happy that he left us. I think any parent that breaks up, they're not happy. I doubt very seriously. I mean, there's so much bitterness. First of all, I think anybody that's going to get married must go through a marriage classes before they get married. I think it would cut down divorce because marriage is two people together as one. They say vows, you know, they never, they together for better or for worse. And I know what the worst part is of a marriage. Well, he was revengeful, but he also probably knows maybe he gets money. I don't know. He has a tax break off too. If he has three boys, there's three deductions he can write off your taxes. There has to be a court order. Usually the mother gets the deductions. And it has to be a court order that says the father gets some of the deductions, the mother gets some of them. But you got to make sure that's why he wants the boys. It is because he loves the boys. He wants the deduction on his tax returns. He gets three deductions. They're worth a couple $1,000 credit to lower his tax bracket. to lower it down. And I'm sorry he took your youngest. That was wrong there. That was wrong. Now I mentioned early on about interacting with this podcast. I didn't want to take up a lot of time, and I briefly, now that you're in this room and you're sending me hearts and you're sending me thumbs up, I appreciate that. And I appreciate it, Melody, Brandy, and Paulette. Those are nice in there. But you can take in notes. Also, besides the emojis, you can check below that you want to follow my podcast. I'm on Facebook and I broadcast it on YouTube using the StreamYard application. Also, you can send me stars if you like what the show has to offer, and send me stars. Further, if you want to be notified when I'm live, you can hit the notification button. So that's the first way to interact. The second way is to text a message, either a comment or a question about your CPS case. I want everything to always be with CPS. There's a lot of things right now that could be related to CPS. One thing that's really hard is our open door policy on our borders, because those same people that we need help are getting help from social services. They're getting, the food for free, the medical for free. Their children are placed in public schools for free. They're getting the clothing, they're getting housing, they're even getting jobs. Right now in California, you can get a job at 22 bucks an hour working at McDonald's and starting pay. That's a lot of money because people are still being paid the federal minimum wage, which is $7. That's terrible. That's terrible. The federal minimum wage has to be moved up. So, texting a message or a comment, like Paulette's been doing, I'd like to have your name, your first name, and then the city or county or the state you're from. And if you're from a country, the city, province, or country you're from, because they don't do states. Well, I don't know. There are maybe some states in other countries. But anyway, some information would help. And um, try to be complete with your case. Try to show that that your your family makeup is the first thing I like to know about. Are you husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, lovers, or partnership? Are both parents involved with the children? Are both parents the biological parents of the children? And furthermore, if you're separated, is that person still involved, fighting for the children against you, or whatever the case may be? And then also why the children were taken, more details about the allegation of neglect, and then where you at on your case, where you at on your case. So if you can share that with me when you do your comments, it'd be great. When you do your texting of the messages. Now, to be a guest on the show, I have a show producer who works behind the scene. Her name is Grace. I want to thank Grace for all she does and helps me. Um, but to be a guest, all you do is pick one of my 14 shows, put in the email to her, and she'll put you on the show. She'll give you instructions what to do and not to do, such as no eating or smoking during the show. Now, I can take up to 9 guests on a live podcast. I can take up to that many people. Um, so to be a guest, all you do is like me, you be face shot, and then you can talk about it. You can see the comments, and it's a good way to talk about your case or help others. It really is, and I appreciate having the guests I've had in the past. I've had some regular guests with Nadine, Nadia, and I also have Faye. Faye's from Richmond, Kentucky, and she's always on my show. And she's had some real tragedies herself. Now, being on this guest thing, there's another bonus about it. If you're a guest on the show, you get a chance to meet with Vincent Davis in a Zoom consultation for 15 minutes for free. 15 minutes. All you need to do is be a guest on my podcast and then give me your name, your email, and your phone number, and I'll pass on to Grace, who in turn will get you on the show as a get a chance to talk to Mr. Davis for 15 minutes. So as a guest, you'll get that link. It'll get you the show. If you get knocked off, use that link again. It's still good. It's still a viable link. And so she will do that. She will contact you and tell you what to do and not to do, like no smoking or eating on the show, and that we don't use children's names, judges' names, or the social workers' names. Now, Grace's email is grace at vincentwdavis.com. That's grace at vincentwdavis.com. And she'll call you and get your link or email you and get you aboard. And she's there to help you. And so that's a third way of interacting with this podcast is to be a guest. And lastly, it is to be my phone number. And somehow I think it's not there. Is it there? No, I don't see it. Dang it. Hold on. Thought there it is. Okay. Lastly is my phone number 626-698-0990. And you can call in. And you also can qualify for 15 minutes for free time with Mr. Davis by calling in or being a guest. By calling in or being a guest. Paulette, you didn't type anything. I just see your name come in, but that's okay. I appreciate it. What you did. That sounds great. Okay, Paulette wants me to do something called list all the questions that you'd like to know first and foremost. Um, I think that best for me to put the questions because it should be you guys doing the questions. Um, I think the first thing you need to do in your case is to verify you have a legitimate case with the county. And that means you need to contact the capital of South Carolina and also the capital of Florida because apparently a second CPS case has been opened up against you there in Florida. And if you've never been to Florida living there, I don't know why they would open up a case against you because Florida has no jurisdiction of you if you're in Carolina. When you first come on here, she likes to know when you first come on here. Well, there's no set questions. It's pretty much open. I open all you guys. This is easy going. I want to make you feel comfortable, and I certainly don't want to say that's the way to do it. I do tell people how they react with my podcast. There's four ways. I tell people about my rules, but there is no right way to really for this room because this room, depends on you guys, not on me. I just am a facilitator and a knowledge person, knows a lot about this, so I try to help you. But it's up to you all how you want to do your case. It's up to you all how you want to do your case. So a lot of people start off asking questions about halfway through their case, and that's where it gets confused because I like to start from the beginning. The first thing you should do is identify yourself and the city and state or the country, and then you should also um, tell them something about your case, and that helps out immensely. So when you first come on here, it's up to you about asking what questions or what to do about things. It's up to you. Now I have about 9 minutes left of the show, and I've talked about the four ways to interact with the podcast. And now, as far as my rules go, I talked briefly about Vincent Davis. I do want to say there's 5 ways that you can talk to Mr. Davis. One is being a guest on my show, and then he'll have a private consultation for 15 minutes. Or you talk on my show, it's a private consultation for 15 minutes. Or you want 60 minutes of the time and they're going to pay $60. And that is to book a discounted Zoom consultation with Mr. Davis for 30 minutes. And you're going to go to a website, https colon forward slash Candely, CALENDLY.com. And then it's forward slash um, apps, APPTS, BWD forward slash com. I mean, excuse me, forward slash Bob Pace. That's https colon forward slash Candely, CALENDLY.com forward slash apps, APPTS, VWD forward slash Bob Pace. And you can get 30 minutes. You just pay $60, and it's well worth your time. Another way to talk to Mr. Davis is on his podcast on Saturday. Just follow those links, register for the class, or if you're a school member, it gives you a link for that. But you need to know about this. Um, let me see. So that is to get on to 15 minutes. And I said then another way, you have the phone, you have the guest, you have the 15-minute, and then if you want to go to the Saturday podcast, that's another way. And then fifthly is to contact him because he's out of state. So that is another way. And then the last way to interact with Mr. Davis is just to retain him. And you call him that number there at 888-888-6582. Now, it's important that you have an attorney because CPS is like open heart surgery. If you know anything about open heart surgery, you're going to have a medical doctor that's gone to school, that is take medical classes, did an internship, got his license in medical school, and then is out practicing law. And Mr. Davis is that kind of person. 35 years experience in practicing dependency law. He has sued them, the federal and state, um, for false. For, Now, you're probably going to say I have a court appointed attorney. Well, that court appointed attorney won't do your case very well. He's just schooled in criminal law. He's new. He hasn't fought. He's not going to fight because he wants that job security. And um, so, if you know that it's like open heart surgery, you're going to get a professional lawyer. And Vincent Davis is one. He'll practice law in any state. He has cases right now in LA County, Orange County, and San Bernardino. He has a case up in Northern California. And then he has another case in Oklahoma. So he will go to other states. He's prepared to do that. So you can either call in at that phone number and do a retainer with him, or you can, because he's a fighter. Vincent Davis is a fighter. You can't go wrong. He was my attorney. He helped get my two boys back. You can talk any time of the show, Paulette. As you've seen, you've been talking through the show for since the beginning, since you've been on, and I try to regulate to different people. If I get more than one, I can only talk to one person at a time on the phone. So, so as I told you, fighting CPS is like open heart surgery. You got to get them. The court appointed attorney is going to be too busy with other cases. He has 30 more clients. He won't have time for your case. He's schooled in criminal law, not dependency law. And he's certainly not going to fight for your kids because he's friends with the social services, friends with the court. He has no incentive. There's no money. He paid very little. So to fight your case. Um, with that being said, I strongly recommend that you get a real attorney. That will get your case. He got my boys back. I had to sell my house, and that was hard. Now, today, I'm going to talk again at 4 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. That's my podcast set up for, and I'll be back at 4 o'clock. So if any of you didn't get your questions answered, please check back then and do so. And if you can, make your questions out ahead of time, and we can talk again in my show. So I want to thank Paulette from South Carolina for interacting with the podcast. It was uh, so hard for her, I know, and she's going to get working on it, and she's going to get some more questions. I want to thank all the emojis, all the people that gave me the thumbs up, the hearts. Thank you so, so, so much. And I want you to continue on with your cases. I want you to continue on with your cases. Um, so I'll see you again this afternoon at 4 o'clock. There'll be, after my show, after I end, there'll be a little blurb about Vincent Davis. So God bless you all. Keep fighting for your kids. And I'll see you at 4 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Thank you.
Hi, I'm attorney Vincent Davis, and I've been fighting CPS for over 35 years. Through my years of experience, I've gained invaluable insights that I'm ready to share with you. If you're a parent or a caregiver or a relative, we need to talk. I'm offering a new opportunity for you to speak with me on a one-on-one basis. Ask me any questions, and I'll provide you with the insight you need to take steps in your CPS case. Members get everything they need to gain confidence and the knowledge that they need to support necessary to truly fight back. And as a special thank you for attending, I have a special offer just for you. Don't miss out, join us, and let's take that next step together. I'll see you at the question and answer event.